Hello, Mr. Woodcock here, looking to give you a Reading Bingo overview for fall 2017. Reading Bingo is the independent reading unit I've established in my classroom that takes place over the course of a semester. Within the course of the semester, students and myself are required to read at least 5 books and review them as well. I'm going to go over what the board looks like, along with some of the rules and regulations I have set up in place. So to start off, this is the sheet for Reading Bingo, or the board, and I have provided a copy of this to every single student in my classes. And at the bottom of the board is a chart where students can fill this in. If they figure out, oh, I want to do the action category, they can put that down there. Put the book title, the author, the date they started, the finish date, and how many pages there are. As they go, when they review books, we add stickers to it. That way they can kind of track their own progress. But none of this is graded in any shape or form. It's just merely for record keeping for the student. As we move down to the back of the sheet that I've provided each student, there is an overview of Reading Bingo, kind of going over what I already talked about. There's also a little bit of explanation for the free square, when it can be claimed. There is plenty of extra credit that's offered within the Reading Bingo unit, so there's a little bit there for students to read, along with what the reading roll call activity is. So the guidelines for Reading Bingo as far as the books, each book has to be at least 150 pages. The book cannot be read or was read as a required book in their high school English classes. So if we're reading Lord of the Flies, they can't say, oh, I'm reading Lord of the Flies this week and I'm doing a Reading Bingo review on it. Doesn't count. It's already being read and unpacked in their high school English class. Students have to report their books during reading roll call, so I'll go over that in 1 second about what that activity entails. Also, the book can only count for 1 square in the Reading Bingo board. So if I go back up to the top and we look at the board, if they have a book that counts for Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Go Green, and Free Choice, they can only claim 1 square for the reading that book. So they'd have to pick between Diary of a Wimpy Kid or Free Choice. Other things that the last thing is they can't read and review a book that they already have read and reviewed for previous Reading Bingo assessments. And a few other teachers in the building do Reading Bingo in a different way. So if they've already read and reviewed a book and done that assessment, they can't reread it and do it for an assessment in my class. After reading a book, each student writes a review about the book. A book review requires the name of the reviewer and the date in which it was completed. General book information, the title, author, how many pages were in it, and what genre it is in, for 10 points. Each class has come up with their own rating system. So the student has to pick one of the ratings within that system and provide an explanation of why the book deserves that rating with 2 reasons for 30 points. Then students have to select a person or group of people that would enjoy reading the book and explain why. Each class also has an essential question. So with that essential question, they analyze the book, find 3 reasons or 3 ways or 3 instances in which the essential question is answered. They also have to find 3 pieces of textual evidence. So we're practicing our textual evidence skills there to support it. And then finally, our mechanics, making sure that students are using proper mechanics in their writing as we move throughout the grades. Each review is graded for both completion, student analysis, and also proper use of mechanics, and is worth 100 points. Each score stands alone in the gradebook in the final quarter of the semester. So for our school, that's quarter 2 and quarter 4, and a rubric was provided for every single student. Going back to one of the guidelines for the books is that the students have to report the book during reading roll call. And reading roll calls occur every single week. They usually occur at the beginning of our week together. And it's the activity is used to foster and promote a positive reading community within my classroom with my students. In order for the book to be recorded that week, the student must name it and also have it with them during reading roll call. And I encourage students to not be shy with what they're reading and to share it with the community. And how this plays out every single week is I have already created a Google Doc that's pretty much a roster with all their names, and I project that on the board. and we walk through and I call them in a roll call style one by one, and they tell me the title of their book. And then I just type in the title of their book next to their name and move on. And that's my record of all the books that they've called, all the books that they have started reading or given a try to, and that helps me track progress as well. So if we get to the end of the semester and they've only called a few books, I'd encourage them to maybe grab one off the shelf that they want to read, and that way by the end of the semester they can at least get to it and give it a try and read it. So that is a general outline of the requirements for Reading Bingo. In a later video, I will go over more nitty-gritty and tips with the review, but for now, this video is mostly dedicated to the nitty-gritty of the board of Reading Bingo. So for the board, I'm going to kind of go up and down and all around to explain what each square entails, what kind of qualifies for each square, etc. I'm going to start with a, and, the. These are articles with parts of speech, so if a book has a, an, or the in the title, then it counts. Mrs. Kraus is a teacher within the building that I teach in, and she recently switched from English to history. So for the time being, she has donated a portion of her classroom library to my classroom library, and I'm housing it, and it's separate from the rest of my books, so students are able to know what's Miss Kraus's and what's Mr. Woodcock's. So if a student selects one of the books from Mrs. Kraus's collection, they can count it for a square on Reading Bingo. Rest in peace, your student can read an autobiography or a biography about a person who is no longer with us. For Go Green, students have to read a book that has a green cover or spine. I ask for the majority of the cover or spine to be green, not just a letter or a little aspect of the cover or spine, a majority of it. For action, we're looking for an action verb in the title of the book. We can even look as deeper in the subtitle, but we're mainly looking for an action verb. Die Bomb, book published in the 1990s, 1990 through 1999. Touchdown, we have a football book. This can be a fictional book or it can be a non-fictional book. Doesn't matter. It needs to be about football though. Pretty in Pink, similar to the Go Green square, this book needs to have a pink cover or spine. Pink needs to be the majority of the cover or spine. DOAC is the pronunciation of this acronym, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Through several Reading Bingos, I got tired of typing out Diary of a Wimpy Kid, so I just put D-O-A-W-K, and it became pronounced as DOAC within my classes. So if a student wants to read a Diary of a Wimpy Kid book, then they can and count it for this square. Evens, book with an even number of pages, pretty straightforward and simple. It's a really easy square to get because a book either has evens or an odd number of pages. Back up to the top here, 1914 and 1918. Currently in 2017, we're remembering the 100-year anniversary of World War II. So if you read, World War I. So if you read a book about World War I that's nonfiction, you can get this square. Wonder Woman, with the recent release of the movie, having students look at a book with a female main character, you can get that square. Free choice, any book, as long as the book follows the Reading Bingo outlines and requirements for books, then they can use a free choice. It's often a good starting point for students. They'll start here with free choice and then they can go up, down, left, right, diagonal. Doesn't matter. It's a good starting point and a lot of different ways for students to begin their Reading Bingo journey. The Golden Snitch, students read a Harry Potter book or one of the spin-offs from the Harry Potter series, that can count for this square. USA, nonfiction book about U.S. history. A lot of students have been questioning what is U.S. history, so it's been a great conversation to have. But as we move forward, always double check with me if you have a question about does this book count for U.S. history or any of the other squares. Odds, like I said with evens, this is a pretty straightforward and easy square to get as books are either an odd number or an even number of pages. Swish, we're looking for a basketball book, a fiction or nonfiction. What is Love, which goes for a love story or romance novel. I'm smiling because I'm thinking of the What is Love song with that consistent beat in the background, a good headbanger. Grand Slam, baseball book, fiction or nonfiction, similar to the other sports books that we have, both Touchdown and Swish. This is Grand Slam. And Y2K, book published in the 2000s. And I'm only counting the first decade of the 2000s, so 2000 to 2009. Back up to the top here for our last row, our last column, we have person, place, or, book with a noun on the title, kind of plays off the Schoolhouse Rock theme there. Red, white, and blue, the book needs to have red, white, and blue on the cover and spine. So that one's a little trickier, but at the same time, if you're reading anything with the American flag or anything that has these colors or is a spin-off of the American flag, then you're good to go. Alive and Kickin', autobiography or a biography about someone who is still alive, still with us. We have Woodcock, book from Mr. Woodcock's Classroom Library. It's always growing, it's expanding. So if you're looking for an easy way to read a book, you can read a book from my classroom library. And finally, we have Adjective, a book with an adjective in the title. So that is your overview of each of the 25 squares. If you have any questions or want to reach out about the Reading Bingo idea, feel free to contact me. My contact info will be below. So if you have any questions, let me know. Always willing to talk about Reading Bingo and books. And also kind of my workflow associated with this will be explained in later videos. Thanks for your time.